So I'm a verbal type.
And and I got out involvement with construction projects and designing stuff. I just really, really liked doing that.
What kind of construction projects have you been part
Well,
of?
cattle handling facilities, a lot of steel and concrete work for cattle corrals. And then that piece of equipment, center track restrainer system, you can see that. Look up some of the videos and see it. But it's all corral systems. It's obvious to me when I talk to you, you're not a visual thinker, because when I showed you the drawing, I show this to most people who know anything about drawings. They know instantly what that is.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, I'll have to think about that because yeah, I'm definitely verbal in a lot of ways. So yeah, so what's your favorite book you've ever written?
Well, I know I'm really like this new book because I'm very concerned that our school system is screening out the thinkers that can't do higher math. But the thing is, we need the thinkers that can't do higher math. I worked with these visual thinkers that worked in the shop inventing mechanically complex equipment. And they can't do algebra. I call them the clever engineering department. There's two parts of engineering. There's the mathematical part, and then there's all the mechanical equipment part. And we've actually lost skills. We can't build a poultry plant anymore or a pork plant. We have to buy all the equipment from Europe. And one of the reasons for that was taking skilled trades out of the schools. Gigantic mistake.
What other mistakes do you think that the schools are making these days?
Well, the one thing I do is put all the hands-on classes back in. Art, theater, sewing, woodworking, cooking, welding, metal fabrication, machine shop, all of that kind of stuff.
Are you currently an activist for that? Like, are you pressuring schools to try to do that?
Well, one of the reasons I wrote the book was to explain why we should be doing that. I'm very concerned that we're going to be losing the skills that we're going to need to keep things like water systems working.
I
You
see.
like water, you like electricity, don't you?
Yeah.
You need people like me who can't do algebra to keep that stuff going.
Yeah, I see what you mean because
yeah,
electricity
it's like pretty important.
Yeah, it's a big part of it too, with how life runs,
Yeah, somebody has to make sure the water pumps work.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to have water.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You see, that's mechanical devices.
So plumbing and all that is part of that?
But I'm also thinking not just about the plumbing in the house. That's the simple stuff. But how does the water get to your house? How does your water get from the reservoir? There's great big huge pumps that bring the water to you.
Yep, for sure.
Do you have any idea how any of this stuff works? Have you ever seen any of this stuff? Have you ever been in a power station?
What was that?
Have you ever been in an electric power station?
I've been near one when I was still living in Estes, and I've seen how there's like components of, electrical stuff, and I see every day when I pass by some telephone poles how they have those batteries attached that look like paint cans or something.
No, those actually are transformers. They're not batteries.
Oh.
Yeah, and somebody has to keep all that stuff running.
Definitely.
That's the thing. And so we need to have all the different kinds of minds. My kind of mind's good with animals, design and mechanical stuff, like doing this kind of drawings for building things.
Yeah.
Art,
exactly does
but I can't do higher math. And I worked with people that own the gigantic shops and they were building equipment for all around the world. They can't do algebra.
That's unfortunate.
Let me show you something. I'm going to show you a thing called a hydraulic power pack.
Okay.
And this is a thing that runs like in a food factory. you have, let me get this big enough so you can see it easier. I have such cold fingers, I can't get this thing. Yeah, there. This is a hydraulic power pack for a food factory. Get
Oh,
all this. And you see it clearly if I got it so it's clear.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see it now.
Well, you see in a food factory, you don't want to, they'll use hydraulics rather than electric motors to run equipment. The person who built that doesn't do algebra, but is brilliant mechanically.
I see what you mean.
All
So,
right, now you see what I mean.
yeah, yeah, I see. I know
Yeah,
exactly what you mean.
yes.
Are you on good terms with McDonald's with your new inventions, or?
Well, I implemented the whole McDonald's animal welfare program. I started that. I trained their food safety auditors to do the animal welfare audits. And I have lots of papers on Google Scholar. Most of the McDonald's work was done in 1998, 99, up to the year 2005. There's about 6 scientific papers on what I did at McDonald's, then also Wendy's and Burger King. But I had a very simple scoring system. You can't just say handle cattle properly. What does that mean? You've got to have
Yeah,
something clear. Like traffic rules don't say drive at a safe speed. They
yeah,
tell
it's
you the speed.
exactly,
It's on
they
a
give you,
sign.
yeah,
It's clear.
for sure. Did they resist your research at first, or?
Well, what happened in this is I was saying heat softens steel, then I can bend it. There was a case called the McLibel case back in the 80s where McDonald's got into a lawsuit with an environmental activist group, lost part of the lawsuit, and they were forced to look at animal welfare. It was very interesting watching the animal welfare issue change from an abstraction, give it to public relations, give it to lawyers. So my job was to take high-level McDonald's people, also people from Wendy's and Burger King, out on their first trips to slaughter plants, get the suits out of the office, seeing things.
Hmm,
And they were shocked.
I see
It
what you
is
mean.
now real. I'll never forget when the McDonald's person saw half-dead dairy cow go in their product. And he wrote a book called The Battle to Do Good by Bob Langert. But this is where the eyes get opened up. It's no longer a spreadsheet. It's no longer an abstraction. It's real, and we got problems to fix. So my job was to train their auditors that were already doing food safety audits on the animal welfare audit. And a lot of the auditors were skeptical at first, but then when they saw how they were improving things, they grabbed a hold of it and took off. And in 1999, I saw more change than I'd seen in a 25-year career prior to that. When you have the power of a big corporation, but you have to use it very wisely.
Yeah, for
Audit was
sure.
very objective. And so I could be there scoring it, the plant manager could be scoring it, and the McDonald's representative was scoring it, and we'd come up with the same score. It was clear whether you passed. The police out on the highway take the radar or whatever their new electronic thing they're using now, and they measure the speed with it. If they
That's
don't think
incredible
you're
what you,
speeding, they measure it.
yeah, they definitely measure it, yeah, so how does that compare to the scores that you guys have done with McDonald's and all that?
Well, when we did those McDonald's audits, the industry had to repair equipment, start managing it, replace some bunch of broken stuff, do things like get the shadows out of the facility. And within 6 months, the plants improved so much I couldn't believe it. And they didn't have to go out and buy all new stuff. Lots of non-slip flooring went in, lots.
Yeah, how did it feel to you when that happened, knowing you were
It
part of
made
it?
me very, very happy. And for about 4 or 5 years, I had the power. And I had McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's all on the same wavelength. So I was very, very careful how we use the power. And you have to make your scores. It was that simple. And that's why it worked. It was traffic rules for slaughterhouses. And it worked. Now you've got a lot of stuff that get way too complicated or it's way too abstract.
Hmm, I see
No,
what you mean.
they had to make their scores.
They definitely
Then
do.
we got into working on the chickens, and they were a mess when I first started. Oh, the broken wings. They used to have 5 or 6% broken wings. They thought that was normal. It was horrible. Well, we immediately started measuring it and dropped that down to 1%. The amount of broken cages they had was terrible. We made them fix the broken cages. This was just basic management stuff.
Are the chickens the ones that they use to make McNuggets?
Yeah, yes, that's right. They were chickens that were used to make nuggets, and we went to the supplier. And when we first went through, there was piles of problems. And then they started measuring. We got the busted wings from 5 or 6% down to 1%, like in a couple of months. And then broken cages. They had to start fixing broken cages. Because when we first started, we had chickens out on the highway. Well, that got completely stopped.
Glad to hear it. That's for sure.
I'm
So
not
yeah,
going to say things are perfect, but I'm going to just say that these programs have greatly improved things.
great to hear. So I have one last question for you before we wrap this up. But
Okay.
what are your hopes for the future?
Well, I think right now, I'm in my 70s now, that I want to help the young people to do positive, constructive things. And one of the things that made the things that I did work, they were not a broad concept like animal welfare. What do we do about it? We worked on fixing the slaughterhouses. You're working on something specific. All right, let's take on some autism stuff, accommodations in the classroom, let's say. Well, I can't talk about accommodations just in the vagueness. I have figured out from all these meetings there's certain accommodations we have to work on that come up all the time. Flickering lighting. You can take your phone, put it on slow motion video, and if the phone lights are flickering, you'll see it. Another issue is rapid multitasking jobs, like a busy takeout window, need to be avoided. And then I, myself, and many other people on the autism spectrum cannot remember long strings of verbal information. Okay, this is step by step how you do this task. Let me write it down. Let me make a pilot's checklist. Pilot's checklist will save a lot of jobs, and it costs nothing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
You
So
see,
thank you.
there are certain things that just come up over and over again, and long strings of verbal information, I don't have the working memory to remember that.
All right. So I thank you for coming on to RNU then.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and it was great to be here.
Great to be here. Do you have any final thoughts before I close?
Well, I just want to help the students go out and try lots of things. I tell students, college students, high school students, try lots of different things. I was originally from a non-cattle background. How to end up in the cattle industry. I was exposed to it when I was a teenager. Get out and try lots of different stuff. See what you like. Also find out, yeah, I tried that and I really hated it. Try lots of different things. And we need to find practical solutions to problems. And working on improving slaughterhouses is not the whole world, but it is something targeted where I was able to make a real positive difference. I also helped make a lot of positive difference on promoting low-stress cattle handling.
All
and
right.
by writing about, I wrote lots of articles just on how to handle cattle calmly.
All right. That's great to hear that you did that. So, yeah, where can people find you?
Well, I'm a professor of animal science at Colorado State University. I can be found on the Department of Animal Science website. I have a website called templegrandin.com for autism. There's also grandin.com for livestock. Lots of free information on that. You can write to templegrandin.com. You can also contact the Department of Animal Science at Colorado State University to contact me.
All righty. Good to hear. So,
Okay.
everyone, let's thank Temple for appearing on the show. And please check her out on her links that she mentioned. And we'll see you next week for the next episode of R&U.
Thank you.